everybody. Welcome. Thank you for listening and for watching. Hopefully, the view is to your liking. I am here. Thank you. Thank you. I am here with my main man, Kevin,
Hello.
and we are not here with Mark, who is just unable to join us for this. Lit is correct. But this is a special edition, the beginning of hopefully a new series that we'll be doing. Um, that again, part of our We Like Movies podcast. Before we get into it, remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, WordPress. Subscribe and like us on Spotify, Apple, anywhere that you get podcasts, so that you never miss an episode, whether it's a review or one of these special episodes like we'll be doing today. But again, this special edition that Kevin and I will be recording is going to be called Five on Five. And I suppose if Mark ever joins us for one of these, it'll have to be a special edition called Five on Five on Five. But since it is just the two of us right now, it is five on five. Kevin, do you want to explain what we are going to be aiming to do with five on five?
All right. So we decided we're going to pick a topic or genre, something. It could be anything like views of masculinity in a movie or comedies or today's, which is um, best movies to watch on a rainy day. We're each going to pick five movies. We're not going to share them beforehand. This is the first time we're going to hear each other's lists. And then we're going to share and discuss and see if we agree, disagree, some views on them. Did I cover it? Oh, there's my cat. Did I cover it?
Yeah,
That's about
pretty
it.
much. Pretty much. So, whatever the topic is, we pick five movies of our preference that we feel fit that category best. And then we just discuss our choices. As you mentioned, for this first one, do you want to explain how we decided on this category?
Well, Juan shot out a whole bunch of ideas, and I said they all sounded good to me. So Juan's like, you know what?
Which is not as
Let's.
helpful as you think it is.
I know. I was like, they all sound good. So Juan came up with the ideas like, hey, Kevin, why don't you ask your girls which they would like? And I put it to a vote, and by a vote of 3 to 2 to 1, because I let my mom vote also, we came upon the five best movies to watch on a rainy day.
Did they share with you why they that was their preferred topic?
Um, the three that liked it, just I'm not gonna lie, it's probably because we just had 2 weeks ago had torrential downpour, and schools were canceled, and we literally watched movies at home.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we heard about that all the way here in Pennsylvania. Some parts of Fort Lauderdale got like upwards of 25 inches of flooding, which is pretty crazy.
The airport was flooded. That was
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah, I heard about that. Okay, so didn't even know how relevant this topic was when I threw it out there. So, as we jump into it, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you approach this? Because it's not a typical topic, I don't think. It's definitely not like what's your favorite top five comedy movies or something. This is, five movies to watch on a rainy day. So, what was your thought process for your selections?
Well, I was like, all right. I'm like, I don't know which ones. I was trying to like brainstorm ideas, and none of them were good. I was like, all right, let me just go home. When I came home, the girls were in bed. I was like, let me close my eyes. Let me take myself to a rainy day. What would I like to put on if it came on, I'm like, this is what I'm gonna like. You know what I mean? And I just ran through tons of movies, and there was a lot that I was like, it's a great movie, but that's not something I want to watch on a rainy day that will give me a little bit of comfort or take my mind away from all the gloom outside. And and then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do it like almost like the NBA draft. I'm gonna go from 5 to 1, and I picked them with one honorable mention, and I was like, I wouldn't mind seeing these five on a rainy day. And
Mm-hmm.
I will say, two of the movies on my list, if we did this 3 weeks ago, would not have been on my list. But we literally saw them during the rain during the rainy time, and I was like, oh, I forgot how great this movie was. This is a perfect movie to watch today. So
Okay.
they made my list.
Okay. Um, yeah,
How
my
about you?
process was a little bit different. My perspective on a rainy day is a little bit different. For me, a rainy day is, I really enjoy them. I always feel like a rainy day is a great day if you don't have to go outside and do anything. You know, if you don't have to go to work, if you don't have to run errands, if you don't have to be outside getting wet, um, which can often be very inconvenient and poorly timed. But if that's not the issue and it's just an excuse to stay inside, and the sound of the rain is very comforting. Um, so yeah, for me, it's kind of usually an ideal time. I don't A rainy day for me, as for you, is very different now because we still have children that we have to entertain, so it's not quite the same. But it was always for me a good time to sit on the couch, grab a comfy blanket, maybe a snack, and have a good excuse to just watch a movie on a Saturday morning or afternoon. I love a good morning shower when when there's nothing going on.
Oh,
So okay, and also for my picks, I did not do a
order.
hierarchical
Oh,
1 to 5 order. I went with 5 different categories of movies
oh.
and made a selection that way. So we'll see where our journey leads us. Kevin, why don't you
Hmm.
start us off, and then you throw it to me, and then I'll hit it
All
back
right.
to you.
Real fast, I will forewarn you. Number two is gonna be controversial, but and I'll throw out an honorable mention real fast, and then I'll jump into my five. My honorable mention, which did not make my list, was Finding Nemo.
I knew there was gonna be an honorable mention, which to me
I,
is
I,
like,
I
no,
said it in my
stick
opening.
to 5.
I said it in my
We
opening.
said
It's a,
5.
I know
There
it's my
should
honorable.
not be honorable mentions.
I know, but I'm just bracing you because for number two is gonna make you mad.
Okay.
So so number five, it's just an honorable mention. Watch Finding Nemo, people. But number five, all right. So I told my girls the internet was out. Um, go raid the little storage closet where all my DVDs are in these bins. So they went in there. Went through all these DVDs, and they brought me a whole bunch of DVDs. I told them I'll pick five from the DVDs you bring me. And of course, I had to sort them out because like they saw the cover of Sin City, they wanted to watch it. I'm like, not yet, not yet, my girls. But so I parsed through them. I'm like, you know what? I want to watch. There's some movies I want to watch when you get older. You won't appreciate that right now. And then one movie stood out. The one movie that stood out that I didn't even think about. I was like, this is the first movie we're gonna watch in the rain, and it was
Okay, wait. Can I try to get? I want to try to guess every
you're
one
not
real
gonna
quick.
get. You're not gonna. But you hit it
Dude,
out. Go ahead.
even if it's a 1 in a million, and I
Yeah.
actually get it, it's gonna make my week.
Okay.
So
Go
let me
ahead.
just try to get it.
You might get it. You might
So
get it.
these are all shots in the dark.
Okay.
I'm going with your first one that you're gonna name your top 5 pick. I'm going with Sleepless in Seattle.
No.
Okay.
I thought you had it with the first letter. It is a 1986 movie directed by Rob Reiner, based on a novella by Stephen King called Stand By Me.
Oh, okay.
And and again, had you asked me 3 weeks ago, I would totally forgot about the movie. But the girls watched. I'm like, oh, you're gonna like this. Phoenix is like, I don't want to watch this. We finished it. She was like, why was this movie so good? I'm like, I forgot how good it was. I watched it, and it's just a great coming of age story. It's a story about these kids going on an adventure, especially when you're at home and it's all rainy. You can't go out. They're just going on this little trip. You see the growth, the character growth. Like I forgot just how good that movie was.
It is everything you said is true. It's a great movie. It's hard to define what makes it great, except for just obviously friendship and adventure, a certain period in life, um, great performances, great writing, great storytelling. You said Rob Reiner directed this.
Yes.
Um, so coming of age, you would say, how would you define that for someone that was not familiar?
Well, what it is, it's you have an innocent character, especially of a younger age, but things happen in their lives where they have to step up, and at the end of the movie, they've lost some innocence, but they've grown from the experience that they went through.
Sort of,
'Cause-
sort of like an enlightenment of sorts, a
Not
growth of
necessarily.
an.
Well,
It's
yeah,
not an
because
awakening.
it's not an awakening. It's you've changed from the beginning. Like in this movie, they're going to find the dead boy, and all they want is the glory for finding this dead body. And what ends up happening is, as they get to the end, they realize, no, this kid deserves to be buried. It's not about that. And their older brothers are like picking on them. They have to pull a gun on them, and they have to stand up. And they're like, you know what? We've had bad situations happen in our lives. Like one of them lost an older brother. One of them's been abused. One of them has a father in prison. But that doesn't define who we are. We can grow from this because they thought they weren't much in the beginning, and
Hmm.
then they realized, you know what, just on this simple trip, that they grew so much. It's like, you know what, we can become better. And I think that's what makes Stand By Me's ending so impactful, when you realize like it's years later and one's looking back at the story and one of the friends has died,
Hmm.
and that's why he was writing the story. So it's more just like it's something that forces you to mature in a way that you weren't expecting as a character.
Hmm. Great. Um, well, do you remember the first time you saw this?
Oh man, I think I was 10. Well, I was young when I saw this first. And I remember being on HBO. I probably saw like same way I saw Princess Bride on HBO.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I probably just stumbled upon it. I just remember thinking, I'm like, oh, what is this movie? And again, as a younger kid, I thought it was okay because there was the leeches part, which I thought was freaky, the train running, the story about the fat kid who throws up on everyone, and that's what I liked about it. But then when I revisited like in my later teens, I was like, whoa, this is really there's a lot more depth to it. And then it blew my mind that it was based on Stephen King's work,
Hmm.
because that's not what you expect from Stephen King.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You expect more horror and stuff. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. In fact, I didn't remember a lot of the things that you said there about pointing the gun, um, about someone, the guy writing the story, and one of the friends had died. I
Hmm.
definitely don't remember any of that, and so it has been a while. What I remember most about that movie is that story that the kid writes about the pie eating contest,
Yeah.
and for some reason because they were blueberry pies, just that color is like embedded in my memory, and just that scene. But I remember that. I remember what's his name's character has like that messed up ear.
Corey Feldman's, yeah.
Corey Feldman, yeah, his character has like that messed up ear. And then I remember them crossing that bridge, the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, good movie. So the girls liked it.
Oh, they loved it. Yeah.
Okay, so your number five pick movie to watch on a rainy day, Stand By Me.
Stand by me.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick. All right. As I said, I'll take my turn now, and
Oh,
I broke mine down into categories. So they are genres that I would be interested in. Oh, you look much brighter.
oh, sorry.
That was good. Actually, it was better. But yeah, so I broke it down into film genres that yeah, I for me, I guess there are some genres that lend themselves more to a rainy day type of situation. It's kind of lazy. You maybe don't want to have to think too much. you're really relaxing, just kind of wanting something entertaining, good, um, but kind of more maybe a more passive movie experience, perhaps. So for mine, I went first and foremost with a romantic comedy, and I went with a romantic. None of my picks are gonna like blow anyone away, or they're nothing uncovered or anything like that. They're pretty well known films, I think, but they're just what I thought of as I was making this list. But because it's rainy day, I was inspired to make this pick uh, from England, which is the land of a thousand rains, London, particularly.
Can I take a
So,
guess? Can I take a guess?
if you'd like,
Because it's one of two, so I'm gonna guess one, and I'm gonna go Love Actually.
it is Love Actually. It is Love Actually. So I want to say that for me, Love Actually I guess it spans beyond the box that it's been put into as a Christmas movie. That might make some people feel like you should only watch it around Christmas, or that's the ideal time for it. That's the time that it's shown on TV now, and it is a Christmas movie. It's an unconventional Christmas movie, but in my mind, it's not really a Christmas movie. In my mind, it's just a great romantic comedy. Yeah, I see your
Yeah,
finger there.
but yeah, that's like Die Hard's a Christmas movie, but you can watch it any time of the year.
Absolutely. So yeah, so for me, it just is a movie that I enjoy watching. I love the stories that are told in it. There's some really good performances, some actors that I really enjoy, including Stephen, what's his name, Martin Freeman, who's actually in the one story that I think it usually that make takes it out of maybe something that you'd watch with your children,
Yeah.
because that one has nudity and simulated sex.
Ugh.
But again, also Colin Firth, obviously Hugh Grant. Um, those are some English actors that I really enjoy. Oh, Bill Nye is also in this. Um, not English, but oh, Liam Neeson. So
You
lot
know who?
of
Chris
Mhm.
Marshall's in it, and I've grown to love Chris Marshall.
Chris
He
Marshall.
he plays the one who comes to America.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because he was in this show called Death in Paradise.
Yeah.
I've grown to love him.
Yeah. This was also the first sighting. I mean, I can't even think of other movies he's been in, but he obviously went on and blew up with The Walking Dead. But
Oh,
what's it with the main actor who plays Rick? I never watched that show, but I know he plays Rick. He was
Andrew
in
Lincoln. Andrew Lincoln.
Andrew Lincoln. Yeah, he was the guy holding the sign
And it's so
in
weird because like I've seen Love Actually so much, and I was watching The Walking Dead. Never would have guessed it until someone said it. Like what?
yeah.
It was like he has the beard and everything in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's my pick as far as romantic comedies go. Again, there's probably a lot others to choose from, but that's a personal favorite that also seemed to fit the rain category in more ways than one.
You know what? That's really great. And like I think the reason why it's even good, like you touched upon it, is like it's not just one story being told. You're just getting all these multiple stories in one sitting.
Hmm.
And I think I was watching Cisco and Ebro once, and they always said like if you watch a movie, if they're telling multiple stories, like the one rule should be is each story good enough to be a movie on its own. And I think like all these good stories were like all the stories were good on their own, and then the fact that the way they weave them in and out was just again phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think. Maybe probably um, it's either the Martin. Yeah, probably the Martin Freeman. Ironically, because I'm a big fan of his. but that probably is my least favorite of the stories.
I,
Um,
and it's funny because I remember you like I remember I didn't like that part just because of the nudity and stuff.
hmm
But then I think I rewatched it because you were like, "Oh, well, if you listen to what they're talking about, it's actually better than what you thought."
Yeah,
And then I do think I never gave it a chance the first one time or two I saw it
yeah.
because I'm like, "Oh, it's just nudity, it's for nudity." But then when you listen to them, it actually is a sweet conversation that they're having.
And it is funny. I mean, it's Martin
Yeah,
Freeman, so he makes any situation
yeah,
funny, and it just is already such a. It really, I think, illustrate they do a good job displaying the awkwardness of that situation. They're stand-ins for a porno. While they're setting the scene, doing lighting or whatever, they're having to mimic the act.
yeah. He's
But
like, "Oh,
they,
let me warm up my hands."
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I was like,
so he's great. He's great.
so which one's your favorite
Rowan
story?
Atkinson is also in this.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was like, wait a second. So which story would be your favorite?
My favorite of the stories is probably the Liam Neeson one is the one that I would go with. Um, I feel like that one, um, yeah, it just kind of starts off, obviously really sad when you find out his wife died, but then, kind of has the father and son dynamic. Then it kind of has that twist where you think that the son is like grieving, but if you find out that he's actually just heartbroken about this girl, and now that becomes the bond between them. But I also do like the Colin Firth one a lot. It's
Right.
probably the most unrealistic because he and this girl fall in love without even really being able to communicate or without being able to speak. They don't really speak the same language,
Yeah.
and somehow they fall in love, and he flies to Portugal to confess to ask her to marry him. So I think it's. I mean, there a lot of a few of them are pretty far fetched, but that one's probably the most far fetched. But it's probably also the most romantic one in some ways. So I like both of those. Probably the Liam Neeson most, and I like the Bill Nye one. I just love that movie.
Yeah.
I could go on for days about it. But Love Actually is I guess my number five. Let's go on to Kevin's number four. Tell me something about it without telling me it. At least do your
All right.
introduction, and then I'll try to guess
Yeah,
it.
because I had an unfair advantage. You said it was a romantic comedy, and that narrowed it down to two movies for me for you. So, all right. So this movie, I'll tell you, was filmed in 2003. Um, it is. It can be considered. Yeah, it's considered a comedy drama on its
hmm
Wikipedia. It was. Man, I'm trying to think. It is. It is. This is gonna give it away. This is gonna give it away. But it is about a father and a son.
About a boy.
Ooh, no. So close.
2000, 2003 is what throwing me off because
I,
do
I will
I
tell you, I did not know it was 2003, but I know you know this movie. I know you love this movie. And
I know what it is.
what is it?
Ewan McGregor.
He is in this movie.
hmm Fish. What is it called?
It's Big Fish.
Big Fish. Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah. Directed by Tim Burton. It is a movie about um, a son connecting with his father at the end of their lives, but in a way where, like, it's just, I have to believe this is the best movie Tim Burton's ever made. His magnum opus.
Wow.
Like it is. Like I like his other movies, but this movie, it just when you put it on his filmography, it stands out from every other movie. You know what I mean? It's not it doesn't have the macabre. It allows him to be like crazy and different, but it fits the story. And again, it's about not just being able to reconnect and understand, like get to understand your father, but in through that, being able to forgive him and understand yourself more.
Mm,
And his journey through the movie, where he starts like has this animosity towards his dad, but he ends with a new appreciation and love, and he becomes a whole different person who likes to tell stories too. and ultimately he gained that by forgiving his dad. You know what I mean? By telling his dad the final story of his life, and it's
Mhm.
and like I said, it's so beautifully done. I
Mhm.
watched it again when I went up to Ohio with my cousins and them. Like I hadn't watched it in a couple of years. I'm like, so beautiful. I watched it again with the girls here. Just like I said, just personally, just like Tim Burton's best movie, nearly perfect movie. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I'm very picky on what I consider a perfect movie, but this is
Mhm.
pretty much up there.
I'm pretty sure we watched that together when it
Yeah,
came out.
that's why I know you saw it.
No, I love that movie. I own it. Um, for me, I think it's not out of the realm of possibility for you to make the claim that this is Tim Burton's best movie. For me, Nightmare Before Christmas certainly challenges is a challenger just because of how excellent it is, as far as stop motion and
Yeah.
claymation and the music and the story and everything.
But
Just
but
creativity at another level.
but here we go. Tim Burton didn't direct The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh well, we'll edit this.
No, because everyone thinks they do, and I did too.
No.
And then I remember it's
Oh.
produced by him, the story's by him and stuff. But it was another person who directed it. That's why to me it doesn't get to be on the list with his best movies.
Are you looking up who the director is?
Yeah,
I feel like it was a Christopher something.
it was directed by Henry Selick.
Oh, okay. I stand
Oh,
corrected. So yeah, Big Fish, Tim Burton's best movie. Um,
oh,
no, well, Edward Scissorhands was the other one that
okay. Yeah,
Beetlejuice.
that's
Did he do Beetlejuice too?
yes.
So there's some other. I mean,
And,
he's Tim
no,
Burton. He's
and
got
again,
other.
they're good. Like I think they're all good. Like none of them. I won't
Yeah.
fault anyone saying, "Oh, this movie's great." I'm like, loved it. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I think Edward Scissorhands. The second thing I saw Johnny Depp in that, I was like, "Man, this guy's great." The first
Hmm.
being the original 21 Jump Street, which I was like, "He's amazing."
Hmm.
But like I said, for my money, like as a movie, beginning to end, I think I could play Big Fish for anyone, and they'll be like, "Wow, this is a good movie." You know what I
And
mean? I
also,
think Edward. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I think like Edward Scissorhands, even Beetlejuice. There's some people who like, oh, this is amazing. Other people's like, I don't really like that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. This one is a little bit more centered.
Yeah,
You know,
balance.
there's yeah, fantastical elements, but it's a much more grounded human story, like you said, about
Hmm.
a man and his father and trying to understand each other. Whereas the other ones are. I think he did Adam's Family. Did he do Adam's Family too?
No, I looked at it. He didn't direct either. That was actually Barry Levinson, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right.
Because I
Well,
thought
he
he did
definitely
those
did the
too.
Batman movies.
Yes, one and two.
Yeah, but yeah, this one I think yeah, just the fact that it's more grounded, it sets it apart, and also I think it's a great pick because I don't think it's as well known. I don't know
Which is a
if it's
shame.
well, I don't know if part of that is because it maybe is a little bit more male audience oriented. Um, so it's not maybe doesn't have maybe as wide of an appeal initially. Um, but or whatever else, maybe marketing, maybe people just didn't know what to make of it. But it is definitely a great movie. Definitely, if you've never seen it, absolutely recommend checking it out. Great pick. All right,
All right, now yours.
my next one is I went to action.
Hmm.
I feel like again, rainy day. Maybe you want to get lost in something with a lot of adrenaline, something that's going, 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 bullets flying, bodies dropping, amazing phrases, good acting. So there's so many to choose from that are excellent, including more recently like the John Wick films and that sort of thing. But I went with something that I revisited recently that I had forgotten how good this movie is. And I went back, saw it, and I was like, wow, this is so satisfying, so good from beginning to end. I think it's easy to forget how good the first one was because some of the sequels have been disappointing and kind of really out there as they've experimented with the character. But the original is the best. Arnold is in it. He's
Oh,
fantastic.
I
Um,
did
so
not get it.
so my action fourth
I
pick is
wait before you
Predator.
say it. Oh, I was like before you said it, I was thinking Matrix. You said Arnold. I was like, oh,
No, it's we got to go back before that. Sometime in the
Predator.
80s. I don't remember when in the
Nice.
80s this came out. But I know that John McTiernan directed it, who is a great action director who also directed Die Hard. And again,
1987, by
I
the way.
thought it was 87, yeah. So Arnold is incredible in this. I mean, it just, I kind of lately have sort of been doing a little bit of a dive into Arnold Schwarzenegger. And man, just that time from 80s to early to mid 90s, he was just so dominant, but he was so good too. I mean, he's kind of a caricature now, I think, is how people perceive him. And maybe like early on in his career, like his acting wasn't uh perfect, but as he progressed, his acting improved so much. It was perfect for what you needed him to do. And in this one, I mean, he's ripped. He's leading, these other, trained assassin guys into this jungle, not knowing what they're walking into, thinking they're there for one mission, but they're actually end up being hunted by the predator. Carl Weathers is in this too. They have a bit of a rivalry. All the supporting characters are really good too. Jesse Ventura's in this, and a few others. And then obviously, yeah, just for me, the initial introduction to Predator and the best. Um, I haven't seen Predator 2 in a long time. Recently, I heard people saying that it's actually a pretty good sequel, even though Arnold's not in it. He's replaced by Danny Glover, and it takes place in the city. But I heard it's a good sequel, so I'll have to revisit that as well at some point. But yeah, it was a really good popcorn flick. Also takes place in a jungle rain forest. If you catch what I did there, but yeah, mainly the fact that I watched it recently, thoroughly enjoyed it. Feel like anyone who's an action fan, sci-fi fan, and understands what the 80s was about, with the Jean-Claude Van Dammes and the Arnold Schwarzeneggers and the Sylvester Stallones and their domination of Hollywood and cinema at that time. And then to get something again, because it's such a shame that now you have these sequels, and sometimes there's big names attached to them, sometimes there's mid level names attached to them, and the writers or this or that, and they're experimenting, and they're kind of but this one started off on such a high level with such a huge star, such a great director, great story. It's done really well, and yeah, I don't think it's the
I,
franchise has reached that level since then.
well, I think the problem also is the first time we see the Predator, he is a bad A man.
Hmm.
You're like, how are they going to beat this guy? You know what I mean? Like you can't figure it out. Part of why I think Prey worked also was when we were watching it, you're like, oh, how are these Indians going to beat the Predator? You know what I mean? Like, but then with part two, then he gets defeated in the city by Danny Glover. Then he gets defeated again. In Alien, in one of the Aliens versus Predator movies, the Predator needed the humans' help to beat the alien. You know what I mean? You're like, it just starts watering down the Predator because he's not winning.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what it is. It's like that first one, I just remember being terrified of him. And we would go out and like me and my brother would pretend like, do you see the predator right there? I'm like, he's right there. Like we just start visualizing it, and it was just a creepy factor about this killer that could just go invisible and then and then you see his face, and it's just disgusting.
And I think too, um, I know that you're a big fan of the '80s in cinema.
Yeah.
I think that I um, kind of take it for granted because there were a lot of great movies and there were a lot of cool things happening, especially in action, sci-fi, in those genres. There were some really cool things that were being done. I mean, even another Arnold vehicle like Terminator, right? And what they were doing visually, both in the original and in the sequel, but so many others. There were some really cool things being done in the '80s, and I think this one too reflects the sort of creativity that was taking place. I mean, as I was watching this for the time period, just even the things, how they created the Predator, you know, and he had this heat sensor type of vision, and you know already had the keypad that he, you know, for his weapons and for all the things. And so even just and obviously they he hasn't really evolved too much since then. Even, you know, again, Prey, which was like a prequel, but in all the films beyond that, I mean, the Predator, his look, his function has remained fairly consistent as far as I know. I'm no expert,
Yeah.
but so, you know, you would think that if they had started off and then the technology or even just the creativity became outdated, then you'd see like, oh, he's got this new suit that now can do all these things. But again, he was already pretty advanced, and even as we've
It,
advanced, he's pretty much still the same.
it,
So, and he's still, you know, again like a badass. So,
you know,
I,
you know what
yeah,
that brings up to my mind. By the way, I want to see the scientific predators that are building all these things.
yeah,
I want to see the
the
predators in
nerd,
the lab coats, the nerds. Because, like you
yeah.
just said, I'm like, they're great killers. I'm like, where are they coming up with all this
Yeah.
weaponry?
Yeah. Exactly. Even just the guys like with the hard hats building the ships.
Yeah, they're like, bring it over.
Yeah.
Go to
The
lunch.
the mechanics. Uh-huh.
Mm.
But
That's
all
awesome.
right. Yeah. So Predator.
And by the way, I also want to bring up. It's weird because like I didn't see Terminator when I was young because again it was Terminator and my dad didn't let me, but we did get to see Predator, and I was baffled because the only other movie I had seen with Arnold Schwarzenegger I think at that time was Hercules Goes Bananas or Hercules Goes to New York, whichever version, and he was dubbed over in the version I saw
Mm,
because he had such a bad accent, so he sounded nothing like the way he sounded in Predator
mm-hmm.
as a kid, and I was like, this is so. I don't know if you have you ever seen that one or no?
I seen bits of the one where he goes to New York.
Yeah, because it's the same movie, it's just two different
Yeah,
titles
I
for some
mean,
reason.
my dad was
But
huge action '80s
yeah,
action movie, so we saw Conan the Barbarian.
yeah. 'Cause I think I saw
Um,
Predator before I saw the Conans and all that
yeah,
stuff.
Red Sonja. For some reason, I don't know why, but I was fairly young and we owned a VHS of Terminator, and I watched that thing repeatedly. Like it was my favorite movie.
Uh,
Um, and I don't know, like I was fairly young, but I was just enthralled by film. You know, that's
mm,
kind of where my love for movies started. You know, kind of watching that, at least what I could see of it, I
mm,
suppose. And um, there was a sort of awareness that that wasn't real life. You know, that was um,
something else.
something. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
escapism.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A sort of escapism,
Uh,
but that was really cool. Like I just love the storytelling and yeah, the elements of story.
it's funny now you bring it up. I only owned three VHSs growing up, me and Ken. One of them being Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie.
Mhm.
The other ones being Spaceballs,
Mhm.
which now that I've seen it with my older girls. Man, that language, like
Mhm.
but I would watch either Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Spaceballs or Arnold Schwarzenegger's The Running Man
Mhm.
so many times,
Mhm.
and like me and Ken would watch it over and over and over again.
Running Man, Total Recall,
Uh,
a lot of good ones. All
but
right,
all right, that was
what's your number three? Moving
number
right along.
three. Let me close my window here. All right, this year also surprised me, and I believe I saw this in theaters with you too. but it's from 2000. It is a 2000. It's from the 2000 year.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
the, the 2000 year of our Lord.
yeah. Um, it is. Oh, I want to say, is it a Chinese film? I think it's a Chinese film. And this one again, 2 to 3 weeks ago, not have been on my list. The girls brought this DVD up to me. I'm like, we're watching that, and they're like, what is it? I'm like, trust me. And I remember seeing this in the theater, and the opening fight scene got a round of applause in the theaters.
Oh, I think I know what this is.
And we had to go to Miami Lakes or something to go see it. Like it wasn't even playing near us. So what do you think it is?
Um, is Jackie Chan in it?
He is not.
Ah, dang! I was gonna say either Super Cop or Rumble in the Bronx.
It's not. I don't think. I know. I saw Rumble in the Bronx. I think before I saw you. That's like a '97 movie.
Okay. Yeah. No. No. I knew that those were made older,
Yeah.
but like when they released in the
Yeah.
U.S. or whatever, that's what I wasn't sure of.
All right. But it is directed by the great Ang Lee, and
Okay.
it is Crouching
Crouching
Tiger, Hidden
Tiger.
Dragon.
We saw
Which
that
again,
together as well.
yeah, it hadn't even popped into my head like in forever till I saw the girls and I was going through the DVDs. I'm like, let's watch this, and I watched it again. So good. I'm like, a movie's good when it has like a 20-minute flashback and you don't even realize that you were watching a flashback because you get
Hmm.
so involved in that thing. And the girls, even when it finished, I'm like, did you realize that? They're like, no. I'm like, they're like, it was a flashback. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, everything was just going so well. And again, it's just a movie that on a rainy day, we were laying in bed, we were just watching it, and it just transports you to this other place, this other time, this other world, and it doesn't. It's not just spilling out all the mythology for you. It's a movie about again realizing that you love someone a little too late in life. You know what I
Mm.
mean? That missed opportunity. It's about a girl who wants to become something different than what she is,
Chow
because
Yun
she
Fat is in that,
Chow Yun Fat does play
and
the main character,
Michelle
and
Yeoh.
Michelle
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh plays the other one.
Hmm.
Zhang Ziyi
Yeah.
also,
Yeah.
and like I said, it just has all these different stories coming together, and it's just like I said, the action is amazing. So if you're an action fan, it's
Hmm.
fun. The dialogue was decent. Like the story unfolds at a pace where it doesn't tell you everything right out, but it just starts peeling back as you go along. So the further you go back, the more it's peeled back, and you have this story of like love and loss, and it's just beautifully told.
I definitely need to watch that again because it's crazy. But I've only seen it that one time.
Really?
Yeah, in theaters, and I definitely did not understand the story. Like I
Well, you
was
were young.
the
You were
yeah,
young.
I was young, so I definitely didn't
Appreciate it.
understand everything that was going on. So for me, it was mainly the visuals, which were still incredible. It made such a huge splash when it came out, which you said it was 2000.
It was in the year
So,
2000.
dude, that's nuts. That was I remember that period. That was probably just a few months in between that and the Matrix.
Yeah.
So that's a great time for action movie uh, enthusiasts.
And while it's not my favorite Ang Lee movie, but like for a rainy day,
Hmm.
this is the one I would put in because I did debate between this and The Life of Pi, but I was like, nah, I don't want to watch The Life of Pi on a rainy day.
Hmm. It's also long too. It's over 2 hours, I think, maybe two and a half,
Oh yeah, it doesn't have the
if I'm
runtime here.
not
Sorry.
mistaken. But
Huh.
yeah, I need to
Uh,
revisit that. I know I've seen a video, like a video
oh,
essay on it where it
it's
was
act,
talk. Huh?
it's actually exactly 120 minutes long.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I saw a video essay on it where it was talking about there's this. Well, Michelle Yeoh is investigating, right? Like, who is this secret person? I don't remember what they did. If they killed some, oh, they stole a sword.
They
I
sold the
think
Green Destiny.
they
Yeah.
stole the sword, and she's investigating,
Yeah.
and they were talking about the filmmaking in that, and how there's a scene where she discovers it by
Yeah.
following someone's hand and their
Yeah.
technique doing something else,
Yeah.
and then they don't, again, it doesn't tell you this, but you see by the cuts and by
Yeah.
like following her eyes it's the moment you realize that she realized, and
Uh,
she's piecing it together. So that was a really cool
uh,
video essay on just some of the
yeah.
technique.
And I was rewatching it because I did remember a lot of the story. Not, but there's a lot I forgot. But the big parts I did. So I knew she already knew who the girl was because later on she goes, "Oh, I already knew who you were." And then when I was watching it, you could tell that she did know, and she was covering up like she didn't know. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so well done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Nice. Crouching Tiger. You got an impressive list going on here so far.
Like you're gonna hate my next one,
All
but
right.
I'm gonna defend it. But all
All
right,
right.
now we're going on to your third one.
Yeah, so for my third one, I went straight comedy. This
Oh,
one
by the way,
you'll
I
never
also meant
guess.
how many do you think? I was gonna ask you before. Do you think we're gonna have any that
No.
crossover? Okay,
No. Definitely not.
I'm gonna guess that comedy. You give me the year, I guess it right now.
Oh, I don't even know the year.
Um,
It's I I want to say it would be like 2004, 2005 if I had to guess. But comedy, this is it's kind of even for me, it's kind of a forgotten movie. I need to buy this movie cuz it's that good. And I feel like when you talk about this actor, it's never one of the movies that comes up immediately. He's huge. At that time, he was pretty much not at his peak. I think he was coming down a little bit, but he was still on that wave. One of the greatest talents that we've ever seen on screen. And I recently was watching this on TV, so I didn't see the whole thing. I saw a bit of it, but I was like, it's so good, man. It's so funny. Him and the Farrelly brothers were just a dynamite combination. And again, I
oh,
wanted to pick this because it is ROFL, rolling on the floor laughing, but it's easily forgotten, I think, and it shouldn't be because it's hilarious. So my third pick, straight up comedy. Want to take a stab at it?
like I had a thing in my mind, and then I switched it, and I don't think either one of them are right.
Okay.
Originally, I thought you were gonna pick Joe Dirt,
No.
but then I thought there's something about Mary, but that came out too way before that. That was like in the '90s.
Both great movies that I love. But no, I'm going with Me, Myself, and Irene with the
Um,
great Jim Carrey and
okay.
the actress Renee Zellweger. Directed by Chris, or no, Bobby and Pete Farrelly, the Farrelly brothers. Um, great movie. We might have seen this together too. Maybe not in, I don't know if we saw it in theaters, but
I feel like I no, I don't think I saw it there. So I think we went to go see another movie, and I we peeked in here,
yeah,
and I remember seeing one little scene, and I think we caught it later, like probably
yeah,
from Blockbuster.
yeah, I'm pretty sure we did.
Came out in 2000, by the way.
2000.
Yeah, June 23rd, 2000.
Wow.
Apparently, we were seeing a lot of movies back then.
Oh, we were seeing a lot of movies
Yeah.
back then. Um, but yeah, dude, it's so good. I mean, starting off with the fact that Jim Carrey plays two characters, right? He plays a character with multiple personalities. They are so different, and the things that he does in this film, that the character does, are so funny. He's a liar, he's a con artist. He goes one personality, one's called Hank, and I forget what the other one is, but the bad one,
Charlie.
Charlie's the good one, Hank
Yes.
is the bad one. Hank um, goes behind his back and like gets a chin job. Dude, he's making fun of people. Then you have one of the best things about this movie are his sons, right? So
Yeah, I
I
remember
won't
them.
give away what happened, but he has three black sons that are also geniuses. Like they're going to Harvard, and but but they still have this great relationship and dynamic with each other where they're insulting each other and making fun of each other, but like in really smart ways. laughing at each other's intelligence. Charlie, which is um, Jim Carrey's regular personality, not his alter ego, is like this really sweet, shy guy. Even Renee Zellweger, who I'm not a huge fan of, is really good in this. Um, Chris Cooper also has a great supporting role as an antagonist in this movie. He's an amazing actor. Um, and yeah, there are some other really significant role. I forget the actor's name, Robert something, but he's the actor from
Robert Forster.
Robert Forrester is in this too. Um, yeah, just can't say enough. But the main thing is just it's freaking laugh out loud, like you crying, belly busting, so funny, man. Jim Carrey killed it in this one.
Like I probably have to go back and revisit it because I just remember when the one time I did watch it, I remember not liking it. But I think I was just in a place in my life where I just wasn't going to like it. I was like, I don't like this movie. Like, I just thought it was. I thought it was, some parts were too mean and stuff like that.
Dude,
But
there is no way that you would watch this movie now and not like it. There had
yeah,
to have been something going on that it just didn't register. Because
yeah,
if you went back and watched this, you would be knee slapping.
yeah. Yeah, they could have just been like maybe I was expecting a different movie, and I was like, oh, this is a little. It could have been probably a little too vulgar for me at the time.
Hmm.
I mean, I was younger. Man, what was
Hmm.
that? I was like 21, but I was like, I probably just wasn't in the right mindset to. I mean, who knows? Maybe we just saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and I was in that mood.
Hmm.
But yeah, but I do have like I don't remember much of it. I just remember not liking it. I remember his sons being chubby
Hmm.
and really funny.
Yeah.
So I do remember that. And like I said, I think that's all. And Renee Zellweger, because I had a crush on her for a minute, for a
Hmm.
hot minute. But
She
yeah,
she was when she came out, she had a lot of buzz.
yeah. Like what was it? Empire Records, Jerry
Oh, that's
Maguire.
right. She was in that. Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry Maguire. Like I was like, ooh, this girl's cute.
Hmm.
And then she just disappeared off the face of the planet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
but
yeah, I mean, as far as I
I
feel like
will.
with Jim Carrey, it's always, obviously other great movies, Dumb and Dumber, Liar Liar,
Oh, yeah.
Ace Ventura,
The
uh,
Truman
the
Show.
the Mask, yeah, The Truman Show. Like obviously, all great movies. But for some reason, me myself and Irene just doesn't always get mentioned among those, and I think that's completely preposterous because it's just as funny, if not even funnier, than some of those other ones. It's an excellent comedy.
Oh, this is probably why we didn't see it in theaters, by the way,
Rated
because I
R.
do remember it. No, it opened up the same. No, I think we would go see rated R's, but it opened up the same weekend as Chicken Run, and I do remember seeing Chicken Run in theaters. So that's probably why we didn't see it.
Yeah, we definitely caught it at some point after that.
Yeah, I said we probably just rented it.
Yeah.
Well, all right, I like that one. That was from out of the blue in the back of
Hmm.
the closet. Pulled it out. Good job.
Top two.
Number two. Okay, here's the controversy, and hear me out because you got mad about the honorable mention, but number two is a tie.
Oh
I
gosh.
know, I knew you were gonna mad, but this is why. To me, like I consider these two movies in my mind cousins. All right. I don't know. I thought you were like slashing at the video, but so these two movies, I went back and forth. I couldn't put one above the other. None of them's my number one, but I couldn't put one above the other. So I'm like, I tied them. They're cousins. If you get either one of them right, you should know them. One came out in 2003. The other one came out in 2001. Both of them are very epic movies that when you're on a rainy day watching it, it transports you on this adventure. Both of them are really well done by great directors, great talent performing in it. It takes you on a complete adventure that just transports you to a whole different worlds, and you're just in awe of what you see. Both of them great endings, great dialogue. And that's, anything else I tell you is going to be a dead giveaway.
Lord of the Rings
Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings is one of
and
them.
the Two Towers.
No. The it ties with Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl.
Oh, okay.
because to me, like the first time I saw the Fellowship of the Ring, it was like such an awe-inspiring movie. It was just great. Like the action, they're chopping off heads. And then it slams you with the ending that you didn't even see coming. You're like, oh, he just went. Like Gandalf narrating it while they're just walking off away from everyone. You're like, that's it. I want more. And Pirates of the Caribbean, like, what more needs to be said? Like Johnny Depp just is a tour de force in it. But even beyond that, just the story itself is, I forget how long it is, but man, it just flies by. It's 143 minutes that just flies by. Quick dialogue, great story,
Gore
great adventure.
Verbinski.
Gore Verbinski directed this, and like I said, it's just from the beginning moments that it starts to the end, it's just well done. And either one of these movies, like are interchangeable. I can sit down on the couch, could lay in bed, windows open with the rain going, watch either one of them, and I'm just like I said, I'm just in a different area, different place.
And you know what's true for both of these franchises? They should have stopped at 3. They should have stopped at the trilogy. Even if the ones that came after that are different, they're not, obviously for Lord of the Rings, it's The Hobbit, which
Yeah,
became a trilogy in of itself,
yeah,
um, which I am not a fan of. And then Pirates of the Caribbean, they're up to 5 now, I think,
yes, yes.
and potentially more coming.
Well, five
Um,
was decent. Four was
Whichever one was the one with Penelope Cruz was terrible. I'm pretty sure that was
That was
5.
four. No,
That
that
was
was
4.
four.
What was 5?
Five has to do with the young
Oh,
kid
the
who ends up being
okay, yeah, you're
his
right.
son. Yeah,
But yeah, I fairly recently, I think within the last year or two, through even longer than that, I think, but got a chance to revisit The Curse of the Black Pearl, and I had forgotten how funny it was. Like the dialogue is so funny, and Johnny Depp is just brilliant in it. The cool thing about, in my opinion, Pirates of the Caribbean is that they get better. And for me, for you, it kind of sounds like maybe Curse of the Black Pearl might be your favorite one, but for me, Dead Man's Chest
that
is
Manchester number two.
Dead Man's Chest is probably one of my favorites, just because of the bad guy.
Yeah.
Was just so incredible and such a good performance.
Well, like I
Um,
do like Dead Man's Chest because even Jack Sparrow dying and everything and setting it up with Barbosa returning at the end, I
yeah,
thought it was
yeah,
all great. It's just I think there's like you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
yeah.
So those two first movies just set the table like great for everything.
Well, and I remember seeing the trailer for The Curse of the Black Pearl, and even that was like really impactful because
Hmm.
the whole thing was these guys that like turn into living skeletons. And I remember seeing them like walking at the bottom of the ocean, like in the sand, and then even in that scene where they're by the treasure, like seeing the
Yeah,
arm or whatever. Like so, even the trailer was really epic. And yeah, it's definitely the way that Gore Verbinski shot that was very epic. And I know even some behind the scenes stuff, that whole set and that whole film production was crazy with the ships and
yeah,
the stunts and the things they were doing. The third one is also so good. Some of the stunt work in that one when they're doing that battle with that
yeah.
big wheel was crazy. So yeah, really good franchise. And then obviously Lord of the Rings. I mean, not very much needs to be said. It's one of a kind
Yeah.
in just excellence and
And I think what was great about both of them, like they both did something with genres that weren't being done at the time.
mm,
Like there weren't pirate movies coming out, you know what I mean? There
mm-hmm,
weren't these fantasy, yeah,
mm-hmm,
now we have Game of Thrones and like everyone's
yeah,
like, oh yeah, we know. But at that time, there was none of that. You know
mm-hmm,
what I mean? Like we had Matrices, we had other movies that were great, but you didn't have like this like medieval type, adventure or these pirate adventures. And for some reason, in my head, even though they're 2 years apart, they're just like cousins. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I've never thought of them that way, but yeah, I mean, I could see that you made a good case for some of those connections that aren't so obvious if you weren't there at the time or if you don't love these movies that much. So,
And, and I will tell you this: I saw Pirates of the Caribbean not that long ago, and one quote that just always pops into my head when I get upset or something's going bad. I was like, "Listen, I'm like, in life, there's only two things: the things you can do and those things that you can't do." You know what I mean? And then that's what he says. I can let you drown, but I can't bring this boat in by myself. And even when I get mad, I was like, there's two things I can do. Like, there's things I can do and things I can't do. All right. I'm like, what I can do is control myself, and let's do it. Like I said, it's just a great movie, even dialogue wise. It's
but
phenomenal.
but even with those similarities or those bonds or connections that you made, they are still very different movies.
Yeah.
Where I mean, just the fact aside that one's about pirates and one's about Middle Earth, but Pirates of the Caribbean is more action comedy adventure,
Yeah.
where Lord of the Rings is more action drama adventure. Um, so I still feel like you should be forced to select truly on a rainy day which one would be more likely to be your go-to.
I just couldn't. Like, the one most likely to go to will be next. That's why
Hmm.
these were number two. Number one is just, it's not even close. It's like a football field or two football fields away. This is the
Hmm.
one movie that will always be my go-to on a rainy
All right, so I know your
day.
number one is Howard the Duck.
So, great movie. Watch your mouth. So,
Okay.
what's your
Uh,
number two
on to
or
my
your next
number
one?
two is again I want to rewatch this because it's been a while, but I know that when I rewatch it, I will love it just the same as the first time I've watched it. Every single time that I've gone back and watched this movie, I've loved it just the same. Um, it is Danny Boyle hasn't missed very much. He doesn't have a perfect track record, but he has not missed very much. And he certainly did not miss with this one. But again, I feel like it's kind of under the radar. It's not always talked about. Technically, I think it's drama, though I'm also somewhat. It's definitely not. The character goes on an adventure, but the story is not an adventure. It is definitely a drama, very dramatic, but such good themes in this movie, along with great actors, great performances. As a teenage boy, there were a lot of elements as far as escapism, as far as a beautiful French girl that's in this film that I was in love with, but um, but
Listen,
but yeah, it's one of my favorites
you
again,
could.
and I highly recommend it. So
I, I know what it
drum
is.
drum roll. You want to say?
I know what it is,
Well,
and it's
I
the
gave
wrong
you an
Danny.
I gave you enough
Yeah,
clues.
it's the wrong Danny Boyle movie, but yours is going to be the beach.
Yes, the beach, which is definitely '90s. I want to say either '97 or '98. Probably '98 because I think Romeo and Juliet was '96. Oh no, Romeo and Juliet I think was '97. So the beach maybe was '99.
I just had it up and it just closed on me for some reason. The beach, man, it came out in the year 2000.
2000?
Wait, hold on. Yeah, starring Leonardo
So
DiCaprio.
maybe that was just like we at the height of our cinematic experience because most of
It's
these
2000.
films have it was either an amazing year for film or just a really meaningful year to us, I guess, left an
Yeah.
indelible imprint.
Man, I want to go back and just look at the movies released in the year 2000 now.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder what won Best Picture that year. As you look that up, um, the beach again, Leonardo DiCaprio. Great performance. I think it's initially. I think, yeah, watching this as a young man just really connected, resonated with it, and I think many young men would. It's he's in Thailand, um, with friends, just backpacking, and then there's this rumor about this idyllic paradise. He is, kind of gifted a map to that place, and he goes, YOLO. I'm gonna go and see what's out there, just venture into the unknown. He ends up finding this place. It's kind of like a hippie commune, but everyone's really cool. They share everything. They're away from the world. But then later on, it unravels and it reveals the cost of what it takes to preserve, their kind of um, lifestyle and harmony, is revealed to him, and it's not everything that it's cracked up to be. But again, it's Danny Boyle, so you know that it's going to be excellent. There's really cool things that he does with I mean, the soundtrack to this movie is really cool. Again, the performances are great. The themes are awesome. Really dramatic too. Very tense. Um, there are some really memorable moments. I mean, what happens that kind of leads to, just the fracturing of the relationships there is just a crazy scenario. Um, and it's all, it's a movie, but it's believable. So there is a certain level of attachment and engagement and connection to the material, that, again, even for me as a young man, or really resonated with me. And I think even now, just the general themes of, there just is no perfect place. And I think even today you can make some really good political comparisons and sort of, um, thoughts based off of those themes and ideas. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the beach?
Like, I just remember, like, I like some stuff of it. I just remember there was a part where he looks like he's being played by a video game.
Oh yeah.
But 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 like that's the one thing when you said the beach, I was like, oh, that's the first thing that pops into my mind. Um, I think it's an okay movie. I think I saw it not that long ago, and I was just like, it's all right. You know what I mean? It's not. I guess it's not my type of movie. It's okay. I can understand why. Again, I have friends who loved it. You know, aside from you, just you, like people who like will rave about the beach. They were like, "Oh, it's so great." Even when I was at Blockbuster, they're like, "This movie is phenomenal." Oh, for the record, by the way, before we continue, in the year 2000, just a little interlude before I continue, nominated for Best Picture: Cider House Rules, The Green Mile, The Insider, and The Sixth Sense. The winner, American Beauty,
Mm,
which I thought was not good, but that's
mm.
a whole other story. But yeah, I just remember like, and it may be because I've seen other Danny Boyle movies, I guess that have just been elevated so much more in my head. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
Slumdog Millionaire, and what I thought when you said his name, and I can't believe I forgot it off my list, A Life Less Ordinary,
Yeah.
which I think is just phenomenal. But I can see why you like the beach. You
How
know,
many times have you seen Slumdog Millionaire?
oh man, I don't. I own it on Blu-ray.
Because I've
Like,
only seen it the one time in theaters.
I saw it on a pre-release. I remember me and Amanda went to go see it with Zach because he had some advanced tickets, and we went to AMC to see it with him. And I bought it. I've watched it. I've probably watched that like at least once or twice a year.
Yeah.
I've lent it to family members to watch. I watched it with the girls. Probably saw it a couple months ago. But I
Yeah.
really do like Slumdog Millionaire a lot.
You should. Well, yeah, maybe it isn't up your alley. I really love it, and I think it's a really great performance
Huh.
by, Leonardo DiCaprio, because even in that montage that you mentioned, that's kind of like a video game. That's a whole part of the movie where he is going crazy, like literally going crazy, and then like really paranoid, um, and then then has so much drama in this face off and this showdown at the end, and it's really good, really good movie. Um, but yeah, so for me, it is an enjoyable movie that if you want to not think a lot about it, it's still for me like a good popcorn flick, just kind of simply following the story of this young man getting into this adventure that turns out really crazy, and then trying to maybe escape that reality back to something with more normalcy. So on the surface level, I think is really great, but then you can take it so much deeper philosophically, um, and existentially, that for me it's really great on that. So for a rainy day, for me it's kind of perfect, whatever mood you're in. It's just a really excellent film. And you had mentioned, when you were mentioning those movies from the 2000s that were nominated, you said The Insider. That's a movie that I really want to watch. Russell Crowe and Al Pacino. I never watched it.
Oh,
I mean, at that time,
I
that
don't
was
think I've
definitely
seen it.
not
Yeah.
the type of movie that I was interested in. But I want to shout out the In Session Film podcasts, because they recently did an episode breaking down Russell Crowe's career. It's a two hour
Ooh.
episode that was really
Ooh.
really good, really cool. They talked in depth about his career, and they mentioned the Insider, and it sounds like a really good movie. So I'll definitely have to catch that at some point.
Ooh.
But again, my number two pick was The Beach. The year was 2000. The star was Leonardo DiCaprio, and the director was Danny Boyle.
Remind me later this week about that podcast. I'll listen to it at work.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good. All right, now we're on the big ones. The number one. Well, mine's number one. Yours is just for
Mine's
genre.
not that big.
Yeah, mine is big. Mine is. It's probably the top five of my favorite movies of all time. It is. This is gonna give it away. Like I thought you were gonna say it earlier.
It's one of three. All right, I'll tell you right now.
All right,
It's
give it
gonna
away.
be either Casablanca, Citizen Kane, or Rashomon.
Ooh. See, those are literally my top three, but it's not any of those. This is gonna give it away when I say. I thought you were gonna say it earlier. It is a romantic comedy, and to me, on a rainy day,
Okay.
it is head and shoulders above everything. It's not even close.
It's Notting
Like,
Hill.
yeah, the one movie that I could watch on a rainy day that's just perfect. I can watch it on any day, but on a rainy day, it just makes it great. Is Notting Hill,
Hmm.
directed by Roger Mitchell,
Oh
written by
yeah,
Richard
I
Curtis,
know it's written by
and
Richard Curtis. Yeah.
yeah, Richard Curtis. I thought he directed it for some reason to just now. Um, and starring the great and phenomenal Hugh Grant at what some people would say is the peak of his career, but I never think he comes down, so he's up there all the time. And it has Julia Roberts. It has, I can never say Rise
Oh,
Ifans name right.
Reese.
Reese Ifans.
Hmm.
Yeah, it has and everyone in this movie so perfectly cast. I've heard it before said it's like a male romantic comedy. It's for the guys or whatever. Like, and it's just great. Like the dialogue is great, the pacing is great. I can watch this movie on any rainy day and just love it.
Hmm. Yeah, you know my feelings about it. It's definitely my favorite romantic comedy as well. Um, some recent things that have been disappointing to me, not about the film, but
Oh,
kind of surrounding the film. One is that kind of Hugh Grant is like really sort of embittered now and kind of resents that era, or even like he's like a really disillusioned person who like kind
yeah.
of doesn't believe in love, or seems like it from some of the things he says in interviews that he's done. So it, I can't imagine him not being proud of that film, especially because it made so much money and was one of the ones which just made him an incredibly huge star. So I can't imagine someone being resentful about that, but he just seems kind of cynical. So I think that's unfortunate. And then another podcast that I recently listened to, um, was it? Oh, it was the the pod show Colonels, the podcast Colonels.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
Colonels.
yeah, the Colonels. The Podcorn Colonels, a pair of British fellas who did a review
Great,
of Notting Hill
great
recent.
show. That's the first one I listened to from them.
Yeah,
Notting Hill.
that was a fun episode. There it was interesting hearing a review from the other side of the lake. So getting an English perspective on the film, they definitely mentioned how it gives a false perception of what the English are like. I understand where they're coming from because I've been exposed to enough of English culture to understand that most people are not like that, but I think some still are, and they mentioned that too. And certain, or even in previous eras, I mean, they're posh in London and whatnot. So it's certainly a population in England might not be the most common. So I think they were a little too harsh, kind of condemning that part of it. But anyway, great film.
Yeah,
Richard
like
Curtis.
like
Hmm.
to me about that, like it takes place in England, which I think is great. Could have taken place in Texas, New York, South America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just the story itself is just fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, as a Texan, I know people are misrepresenting cultures because we're not all the way Texans are, represented
Yeah.
in movies. But like I said, I'm like, and again, I'm not taking personal offense because I'm not English, I'm British, but they are. But like I said, it's just overall when you peel all that back and remove yourself, it's just a great movie. I thought you
Hmm.
said you weren't gonna like it because Alec Baldwin was in it, but that's how good it is, and I
Oh
still
no,
like it.
he's really good in it.
He really
Um,
is.
he
Adios
well,
these dishes.
and I mean, I like what you said that yeah, it could have been anywhere. I mean, I think that there still is, for me, the fact that it is an English film, that is part of the charm, at least to me, um, of what I love about it. But yeah, but certainly I don't think. mm, at least me, I'm not fooled into thinking that
Yeah.
that's just a fair reflection of, or accurate reflection of what English culture is.
And even
Um,
just aside from just being a great story, a love story, and all this stuff, like cinematically, like when those seasons are changing, when he's walking and they're
yeah,
playing "Ain't No Love,"
yeah.
which "Ain't No Sunshine," so good, so well
Well,
done.
I mean, yeah, it's a great film. That sequence, the sort of car chase,
Yeah,
sort of sequence, at the end. The side characters, again, the roommate, but also the group of friends. Um, Another knock that I've heard on the movie is just the fact that they say it's just unrealistic. That a huge movie star would fall in love with a guy who like runs a bookshop. I mean, who's to say that stuff could happen? But that is one of the criticisms that I've heard often. But who cares? It's a movie. It's a story. It happened in this story, and that's all you need to know. I guess their lack of interaction. When you do think about it, they don't interact a ton, to kind of fall in love like they did. But it's really
listen,
cool.
as the great Edward Bloom said in Big Fish, when you know, time will stop and it's yours.
Yeah, this scene with the press junket is also really good. Horse and Hound.
So good.
But yeah, so I mean, Richard Curtis really struck gold. I think he did also like the other Renee Zellweger movies.
Oh, the
Um,
Bridget Jones.
Bridget Jones, yeah, which I've never seen. I have no interest in those. But Love Actually and Notting Hill are excellent. And Notting
Yeah.
Hill is, yeah, so good.
Well, let me
Great.
see. He was a writer in Bridget Jones and yeah, I love actually Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah, I thought Four Weddings and a Funeral. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Hmm.
Well,
But
so
yeah,
that was
if you've never seen it, definitely check it out.
on
It's hilarious.
a rainy day or any day. Just check it out.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that leaves me with the final choice. And again, this is not a ranking. This was just number one because it's number one. And I went differently than anything that we've talked about here for this one. I thought Rainy Day, maybe not me because this is not my favorite genre, although it is for many, many people. So it's probably one of the genres that I'm least versed in. But I went with the horror genre
Oh,
because I thought that yeah, I mean, maybe myself on an odd day, or maybe some other people, certainly, they got nothing else to do. Maybe they draw the shades, and maybe it's in the morning or an afternoon, or even a rainy, a stormy night, and you kind of want to get spooked a little bit, freaked out. So that's kind of where I went with it. It just felt right to have horror be one of the categories. So again, because I haven't watched a ton of horror movies, I've watched my fair share, but again, not as much as other genres. But this one definitely was remarkable. It was definitely freaky. It had, I mainly remember like how I felt when I in the ending and with some of the things that happened throughout. It was creepy and really well done, and it's kind of stuck with me. So my pick for my number one in the horror genre is Ari Aster's Hereditary.
okay. I would have never guessed that movie.
Yeah, I'm sure you've never seen it either.
No, I have not.
It's also not your favorite genre.
No, like I said, outside of Scream, I can't think of anything that I'll be like, ooh, yeah, I really like that movie.
Mm. Like so, right now the Evil Dead franchise is really popular because of the movie that just came out. I know you like Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, like I've seen like The Evil Dead, Army of Darkness and all that stuff.
Hmm.
I didn't watch the series that came out. It's just not my. I think I might have
Hmm.
seen those once. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
was probably like pressured into it by just like the culture I run in sometimes.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the horror genre is huge. I mean, there's so many uh, people that just love that genre. It's just not my favorite. I mean, when I was young, I didn't see the point in wanting to be scared, and so that now I like them definitely more than I did when I was younger. And so I try to watch some, and my wife likes them, so we've watched some, and so yeah, we I think I'm pretty sure I was with her when I watched Hereditary, and it's just really well done. Um, so yeah, I
When did it come out?
I
Yeah,
can't.
it came out in 2018. So yeah, I
Yeah,
probably saw her.
I also feel like for me, a lot of movies, horror movies that I have watched, like even, and again, maybe this is not a good movie, so it's probably not a great example, but it's from my sample size. Um, like I remember watching the Amityville Horror remake with Ryan Reynolds, and other movies that have come out that I have watched. For me, they're usually fairly disappointing. Like the
Mm-hmm.
story's not that good, or the ending's not that great, or like there haven't been too many that have just like blown me out of the water. But I think Hereditary for me definitely did, and felt like an exception to the
And
rule.
and I think for me, there's always like they always seem to have some weird twist somewhere in it
Hmm.
that to me never makes sense,
Yeah,
and then just takes me out of the whole movie anyway.
yeah,
So then I just think, oh, this is just you're just doing this just to try to be creepy.
yeah,
And
yeah.
again, And there's a fine line because I think in my mind I keep thinking slasher and horror. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And they're two separate genres.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Or there's like something silly, like they disrespected some old lady, so she put a curse on them. Or what's the one where it's Final
Yeah,
Destination?
they
Like,
escape death, so it's still
yeah,
coming for
like
them.
the the plots in a lot of them simply like I just didn't find them that interesting.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I think Hereditary is definitely an exception to that. And again, that's not to knock the horror genre or to say that there are no good movies in that genre or anything like that. There's certainly ones that I like. My favorite is probably The Others with Nicole Kidman.
Oh yes.
But there are definitely other ones that I like and enjoy, and more that I want to see. It just hasn't been a genre that I've kind of that's been very popular for me. But certainly Hereditary was an exception, and it was exceptional, and I want to watch it again at some point. It was
Wait,
freaky though.
what was that sucker rated? Was it R?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
So
maybe I'll watch it without the girls first.
yeah, yeah. I'd like to tell you something that happens in it, but I don't want to ruin it for other people.
All right, you can tell me offline.
Hmm. All right. Well, this was fun. Even more fun than I expected. So we'll
I,
certainly
I,
do it again.
I do like again. I thought we were gonna be so aligned in movies. I'm like, how many are gonna cross over? But surprisingly, we didn't have any.
Yeah.
We had the near miss with the Love Actually, Notting Hill. But
So you want to read off your top five one more time?
all right, my top five in order from five to one was Stand By Me. Number five. Number four was Big Fish. Number three was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Number two was a tie with Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, and Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. And my number one movie to watch on a rainy day is The Great Notting Hill.
Good stuff. And for me, my five were Love Actually, Predator, Me, Myself, and Irene, The Beach, and Hereditary. Those are, again, as Kevin said, each of our top five films to watch on a rainy day. This was 5 on 5, a special edition of the We Like Movies podcast with Kevin and Juan. Our third amigo, Mark, is not here, but he will be back for our regular reviews, which release every Wednesday at 1 a.m. So please be on the lookout for that. I think I'll just probably start doing the special releases on Sunday night. Or maybe Saturdays at 1 a.m. or something like that. I'll try to make them find a regular time to do them so they're not so random. But yeah, once again, if you like what we do, if you like what you hear, please be sure to share. T- Tell a friend. That is a huge thing that you can do for us. But also subscribe, follow, comment, like. Definitely comment on this video. Tell us if you've seen any of these movies, how you feel about them. If you hate them, let's start a conversation. Again, thank you for listening, and we will be back again soon with more content for your listening pleasure. With that being said, I'm Juan,
I was Kevin, and
and we're out. Later,
later,
hater.
folks.